Sunlight streams through the attic window, dust particles floating in the air like tiny specks of history. Adelina kneels by an old wooden trunk, its brass hinges worn but sturdy. Oma Ingrid, her silver hair pinned neatly, stands nearby, holding a soft cloth as she carefully polishes an old frame. Inside the frame is a commemorative poster of Colonel Karl and Sophie von Berckefeldt. The image shows Karl in his uniform, his posture formal, and Sophie standing gracefully beside him. Adelina, holding up the poster, teasing, says, "Oma, this guy looks like he hasn't smiled in 100 years. What's the deal with him?" Oma Ingrid, smiling, said, "Ah, Adelina, that's Colonel Karl von Berckefeldt. And the woman beside him is Sophie, his wife. Without them, neither of us would be here today." Adelina, raising an eyebrow, said, "Wait, so they're family? Like our family?" Oma Ingrid nods, sitting on a nearby trunk. "Oh yes, Karl was a colonel in the Royal Hannoverian Army. He was a very important man back in his time. And Sophie, she was the heart of the family. They're two of the reasons why the von Berckefelds have such a strong legacy." Adelina, sitting down next to her, said, "Okay, so what made him such a big deal? I mean, he looks so serious, like too serious." Oma Ingrid, chuckling, "That's because back then, being a colonel wasn't just a job, it was a calling. Karl had to lead with dignity and strength because his soldiers and the town of Osnabrück depended on him. But there's more to him than what you see in that picture. Let me tell you his story." Oma Ingrid, gently holding the poster. "Karl was born in 1795, right here in Hanover. It was a time of great upheaval. The Napoleonic Wars were shaking Europe. When Karl was young, his family faced many challenges, but there was one thing that stood out. He was the only one left." Adelina, leaning forward, said, "What do you mean?" Oma Ingrid replied, "His siblings, they all died in childhood or without children of their own. That meant the entire von Berckefeldt family's future rested on Karl. Imagine being a teenager and realizing you're the only one who can carry on the family name. That's a lot of pressure, isn't it?" Adelina, with wide eyes, said, "Yeah, no kidding. So what did he do?" Oma Ingrid said, "He joined the Royal Hannoverian Army, one of the most respected forces in Europe. Officers like Karl weren't just soldiers, they were leaders, role models. The army was connected to the British monarchy, so it had a reputation to uphold. Karl trained hard and rose through the ranks, eventually becoming the commandant of the garrison at Osnabrück. That meant he oversaw not just the soldiers, but also the entire town's safety." Adelina, nodding slowly, Okay, that's kind of cool. But what about Sophie? Did she just, I don't know, hang out while he did all this big important stuff? Oma said, laughing. Oh no, Sophie was just as important in her own way. She was the daughter of August Moritz Christian Critter, a respected man. When she married Karl in 1819, she took on a big role. She managed their household, a big one, with children, servants, and traditions to uphold. She taught her children what it meant to be von Berckefeldt. She made sure their family values, dignity, kindness, and perseverance were passed down. Oma Ingrid continued as she smiled warmly. Sophie was a steady force. Just look at her picture, her kind but firm gaze. She had a strength that didn't need words. When Karl was out leading troops or handling garrison politics, Sophie kept the family together. Without her, the von Berkefelds wouldn't be who they are today. Adelina said thoughtfully. So she was like the behind the scenes boss. Oma Ingrid said, exactly. Together they were a team. Karl's world was duty and discipline, but Sophie's was about heart and home. Together they built a legacy that still stands today. Adelina, looking at the poster again, said, you think they'd be proud of us? Like, of what the family's become? Oma Ingrid, smiling, said, I have no doubt. And you know what? I think you have a little of Karl's courage and Sophie's strength in you, too. Adelina, grinning, said, maybe, but I'd totally make Karl smile at least once. Oma Ingrid laughed and said, I think you could. Now come on, let's see what other treasures this attic holds. Who knows what stories we'll uncover next? Oma and Adelina laughed and sifted through the trunk. The sunlight catches the frame, illuminating the serious yet proud expressions of Karl and Sophie von Berckefeldt. Adelina says, maybe they weren't so different from us after all.